Okay, so remember that the first step for absolute value was to isolate the absolute value expression. So what if there is stuff outside of it? Okay, what if there is other stuff involved here? Like for example, number 9, I have the absolute value of C, and then I have plus 2. Well, that's not by itself. So what do? Okay, don't forget you are going to isolate the absolute value. That is what you're going to do. That means you are going to move anything that is next to it to the other side of the equation. So in this case, I'm going to isolate it by subtracting 2. So I am left with the absolute value of C is equal to 10. Okay. Now that it's isolated, I move to step 2. Step 2 was to take the inside, C, set it equal to positive, and set it equal to negative. Step 3 is to solve, and these are already solved, and then the final step is to write it as a solution set. Okay, so pretty simple. We're just going to keep going with this pattern. It gets a little bit more complex as we go, so I just want to make sure that we have plenty of examples to go by. So you're going to do the same thing for number 10 on your own here in just a few minutes. Okay, number 11. All right, we have 6 multiplied by the absolute value of x. The absolute value is not isolated, so I need to do that. So to get rid of this multiplication, I have to divide everything by 6. That leaves me with the absolute value of x is equal to 4. Okay, now I take the inside and I set it equal to the positive and I set it equal to the negative, and I write it as a solution set. Okay, you're going to do 12 on your own, where you're going to have to get rid of that multiplication, just like this one. But then once you make your 2 equations, you're going to have one more step to get z by itself, so don't forget that. All right. All right, number 13, we have the absolute value being divided by 6. So in this case, I still need to isolate it. So to get rid of division, I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. And that leaves me with the absolute value of 2w minus 4. Let me fix that real fast so that it doesn't confuse you. Okay, 2w minus 4 is equal to 18. Okay, the absolute value of 2w minus 4 is equal to 18. Now it's isolated. Now I create 2 different equations. Equals a positive 18 and equals a negative 18. So here I am going to add 4. 2w is going to be equal to 22, and w is equal to 11. Here I'm going to add the 4. 2w is equal to negative 14, and w is equal to negative 7. So in this case, w is equal to negative 7 and 11. Okay, so same process as before. You're going to do the same thing on this one. Got a couple extra steps. We're multiplying by negative 10, but then we're subtracting 3. So to undo this one, pay close attention. On number 14, you're going to add the 3 over. You're going to divide by the negative 10. Then you can isolate, your absolute value will be isolated, and you can create your 2 equations. Okay, so be careful on that one. Make sure you follow those steps. Okay, number 15, we're going to do something. Number 15 is very similar to number 14, so pay close attention to that as well. We're multiplying by 7, and we're subtracting 6, and we've got to isolate this. So we're going to start by adding the 6, and now we have 4n plus 8 and 12. We're going to divide by the 7 to get rid of that. Let's see, and that's going to give us 16. Okay, and now we have this isolated, so we can create the 2 equations. So we have 4n plus 8 is equal to 16, and 4n plus 8 is equal to negative 16. So we subtract the 8. 4n is equal to 8, divided by 4n is 2. And then over here, divide by 4, and n is negative 6. And so our final answer here is that n is negative 6 and 2. Okay, so same process on 14 and 15. Now, on 16, you're going to do the same thing, but when you try to get rid of this right here, remember to multiply by the reciprocal, meaning you're going to have to multiply by the flip of this, 2/3 instead of 3/2. All right, so just don't forget that. Okay, special case. There is one special case that may come up on this that I want to make sure that you see. And I'm going to let you work out number 18 on your own, but number 17, okay, the absolute value of something. Remember, the absolute value is the distance from 0 that a number is, okay? It can never be negative. Remember, the absolute value is always a positive number. It's always a positive distance from 0. So because of that, this absolute value cannot be equal to a negative number, okay? So look right here. On this one, you have all this stuff going on, and it's equal to a negative number. When you move everything over and you're left with just the absolute value, if it's still equal to a negative number, it can't work. Nothing, an absolute value cannot be equal to a negative number. Okay? But in this case, this one doesn't do that. It's still a positive number, and that's how we can go ahead and solve this one. So on this one, you'll notice that can't have an absolute value equal to negative 6. So there is no solution, meaning that that particular equation never crosses the x-axis. That absolute value never crosses the x-axis. Okay, that's why it has no zeros. Okay, and so that means your explanation is this. The absolute value cannot equal a negative number once isolated. That's the important part here. Once it's been isolated, it cannot equal a negative number. Okay, if there's still other stuff going on, by golly, you'll notice that a lot of times that negative will go away. All right, but once it's isolated, if it's equal to a negative number, it is no solution. So just be careful about that and pay close attention. Be on the look for that. Okay. All right, so you're going to solve 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, quite a few today, 8, 6, 4, and 2 on your own. All right, so finish those up. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be more than happy to help you. Send it to me when you're finished, and I'll be happy to check over it and make sure you don't have any missed problems or anything like that.